Welcome to the Theory of DFS podcast. I'm Jordan Cooper, the co-author of The Theory of Daily Fantasy Sports. It's a 15-hour audio DFS masterclass you can pick up at theoryofdfs.com. Join with me, as always, throughout the NFL season from Stochastic, the High Stakes podcast, the On the Contrary, the NFL Tournament Strategy Show, the Showdown articles, the Showdown videos, NFL All the Time. It's Neil Orfield. I think we both lost this past week.
Correct. Yeah, this was if you faded the chalk, you did not do that well this week.
And I didn't even fade the chalk in cash games. And I won on FanDuel, lost on DraftKings, made money on props. I don't see how you can't make money on props. It's I don't know. I don't know. It's not like I had a great day in props. I think I made $1,000 or so, 800 to it. I went 15 and 10 or 16 and 10.
Not bad.
On props, and now I'm doing NBA stuff now. I'm playing more in props than I am in DFS now. Like,
yeah, you seem to be getting super into the props, and I can't do that with you because I can't play. Although I guess I can play on Prize Picks and Noah's Advantage, those types of sites.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm doing because I can't bet on sports books in Kentucky. I mean, I can't bet legally. I just can't do it legally.
And you enjoy that more than DFS, or are you just doing it because you're profiting so much?
Oh, I enjoy profiting.
I do too. So maybe I should check that out.
What does it matter how
much?
All it is like, okay, let's look at the projections. Let's look at the lines. Okay, which ones are off by a lot? And bing, bong, bing. Put them all together, right? And then just let the thing play out, and there you go. So, like, especially once the dead money in NFL starts, like, leaving kind of double ups in the head-to-head lobby, like, I'm just more likely to just don't dedicate that money to... Just I'll up my prop play. Still play.
Are you not seeing the dead money leave? Have you seen the dead money leave yet? Because NBA coming back, that some of the contests have been a little bit smaller for NFL. I don't know if the weaker players are leaving yet though.
I'm not sure, but I mean, cash games typically get harder throughout the course of the season, just because there's more and more decent lineups and not enough bad lineups.
Yeah.
But this past week. Essentially, if you jammed 46% owned Josh Jacobs, you did well, and 32% owned Kenneth Walker, and 21% owned Austin Eckler, and played the highest owned quarterback. You did pretty well, and of course I had plenty of those players, but not like together, and. I think that this is one of the weeks. Like I take a look at your exposure. You went way more off the board than even I do. In your,
I mean, I often do. I'm playing the Millie Maker, so it's not even the same as like the slant or something. I have to go pretty off the board to try to win. Right. Or I like to go pretty off the board.
Right. What I like calling this, if I could bring it up, in results DB, it looking foolish until you're not.
Exactly. That's my approach.
Right, because most weeks you're going to look like you're the biggest idiot in the world.
Yeah.
But one of the weeks, maybe two of the weeks, you're not going to look like an idiot. You're going to look like a genius, and then hopefully take down a lot of money. So but I mean, like even in this week, like I was a little bit off the beaten track. Out of the weeks of it, this week compared to the last 6 weeks, like significantly different from me. Like to the point of almost stupidity. Like I was not that far off the field's ownership as far as like I played 56 milli lineups. Basically 50 large field lineups, and then I throw my 6 single entry, my power sweep and spy lineups into the milli for whatever reason. It saved me money. You know what saved me money this week? I only had 6 single entry 3 max lineups because I didn't enter the power sweep and the spy that paid out like the min cash spots of Rainmaker cards.
Okay.
Because fuck that. I don't want the goddamn elevate packs. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
You might as well just throw in Pogs. I don't care. It doesn't. You might as well. So I'm like, I have to consider that $0. So like now all of a sudden you're taking out more money from the pool. I ain't fucking playing it. So I'm only making 6 instead of 10 or 11 or whatever the hell I do. So I don't know.
Yeah.
You don't typically play those contests, but like the millie, I don't mind. But my top ones that I played Carr passing stacks, right?
Okay.
Carr, Adams, Moreau types of lineups with Cooks or Pierce or Nico Collins as a run back. I played Dak lineups with like Gallup, Schultz, some Lamb, and then I didn't play that much of Amon-Ra St. Brown. I played some Josh Reynolds, or I just played them without any run back. And then I also played Brady lineups.
Wait, I want to get back to so you said that you think that I made some decisions that were like to the point of stupidity getting off the board. I'm curious which plays of mine you thought were
I didn't say they were stupid.
Egregious.
I didn't say.
I'm not saying. You said almost to the point of stupidity, I believe. So I'm curious which.
No, well, I'm just trying to exaggerate how like I tend to play some weird stuff.
Yeah.
Right. But this was the week where I like. Yeah, of course we had the week like 2 weeks ago where I'm playing Mitch Trubisky stacks and he got fucking benched.
Sure.
Right.
I played Trevor Lawrence
last week and he fucking did horrible. Like I could see that but like I throw one in like it's like okay I don't mind playing some of the, like, maybe I'm not playing Burrow as much, right? Because I knew he was going to be the highest owned stack. I'm not playing Herbert as much. So it's like, I'm going to go into that mid-range of, like, who's right underneath? Play Mahomes lineup, play Lamar Jackson, do that type of thing. But then I take a look at yours, and, like Lamar was number 1. Mahomes was number 3. And then you have Aaron Rodgers. You haven't played Aaron Rodgers stacks, which I didn't think were necessarily that bad. I looked at that a bit, like Rodgers, Dobbs, Tanyan.
It was kind of a last-minute decision to do more Rodgers, just because I was like, Rodgers has always had this upside. The Commanders' defense isn't that good. Nobody is playing Aaron Rodgers. Like, it just felt like, is this a miss? Is the field just missing? Like, this is an all-time great quarterback in a great spot. I know the pass catchers aren't great, but at some point somebody's got to do something right. So that was a stand that I took really pretty late on in my process. I decided to add in some more Rodgers stacks, and of course regretted that in hindsight.
Right, and then you were way under on Kenneth Walker.
Yep.
You were under the field on Jacobs, but I was also. I mean, you still had him in a quarter of your lineups.
Right.
And then,
I had plenty.
And then you were with me and played a lot of Mixon.
Yep.
Because of the Burrow stacks, right? I mean, like, I'm just kind of doing kind of the opposite. Breece Hall, I played a bunch of. And, of course, unfortunately, he's done for the season.
Yeah, that's rough.
Played a ton of Elliott as leverage off a Lamb. You got onto Travis Etienne. He made like 2 or 3 out of my 56 lineups. But you still had a lot of these packages. You had Dillon, 19% Dillon, 10% Jones. Obviously, Jones did well. I had more Fournette. I had way more Henry. I mean, I think Henry's going to be very popular this coming week against the Texans.
Yep.
And you got suckered in. Oh, I see here you got suckered in.
To what?
Isaiah Pacheco.
I did. How much did I get suckered in? I don't remember exactly.
6.7% exposure.
Okay. Yeah, that's about what I didn't want to play a ton, but I was like, it is the Chiefs backfield, maybe they get, but it was probably a sucker's play. In the afternoon slate, I tried to play a lot more Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I didn't want to do that on the main slate. I didn't think he had that kind of upside, but on the 4-game slate, I was like, nobody's going to go to CEH, and I want to get there. But then, as you may have seen in Discord, I had some technical difficulties that did not allow me to play the lineups that I wanted to play. So I had 100% on the afternoon slate of Josh Jacobs and Foster Moreau and the Jets defense. And then because long story short, I had also technical difficulties earlier in the day with DraftKings. So I had removed somebody from my tight end spot and from my flex spot and just put in Foster Moreau as a placeholder in my flex spot. So I had him locked into the flex spot, and as a way of getting around it in doing late swap, I had to go and I had to lock in another tight end as well to make it work in Fantasy Cruncher. And so I locked in Gerald Everett in the tight end spot, and that ended up biting me. But I ended up making money despite having all those players locked in, just because Josh Jacobs did so well for the afternoon slate.
Right. I mean, the thing about Pacheco is that, like, the news came out, he's going to be the starter. The fuck does that matter? Come on.
So I thought it mattered in terms of he's probably going to get at least like 40-50% of the workload, like, because he had a lot of games where the previous Chiefs game, he played very few snaps. So it was like he was not involved in the offense at all. I thought the starter at least gives him a floor. And honestly, the CEH touchdown drive, it was Pacheco ran the ball, returned it for like 50 yards. So then he was winded. They took him out and just left CEH in. So I think it was a little bit fluky there that he was out of the game because he had, had such a long return. They didn't put him back in right away.
I just figured that the news would just make him more. I mean, he was 4.5% owned. Like if that news did not come out, he would have been 1%. He would have been under 1% owned.
But he also would have been a worse play. Like he wouldn't have had the same floor and ceiling combo. I think if that news had not come out.
Just like who cares about the starter? He's going to take the first snap. Wow. Dang. That only matters.
No, but there was more to it. There was more to the reports than that. Just that he's starting. It had been Clyde Edwards-Helaire with Jared McKinnon with a splash of Isaiah Pacheco. We're expecting it now to be Isaiah Pacheco and Clyde Edwards-Helaire with a splash of Jared McKinnon mixed in. So it was, there was more to the report than just he's the starter.
Who reported it?
Yeah, I know. Okay, well, that's where I got suckered in. You can never trust Ian Rappaport. Okay, all right, that's fair.
Fucking
all right, I'll admit
it.
I'll admit it. I get sucked in. Yeah.
Right. You don't. Ian Rappaport could say the sky is blue. I'm still gonna look up.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, really?
I hear you.
Like if it was Schefter, I probably wouldn't have even mentioned it. I'd be like, okay, maybe he does get half of the work. Maybe he does. What fucking rap sheet?
Yeah. He did. He had 8 carries. I mean, obviously not what you're hoping
right,
for.
I'm just saying because the ownership one. I mean, like it's just that in relation to the ownership, you might as well. I mean, you played some Hubbard and Foreman, and I thought that was fine at that ownership. I thought it just like off the yeah, you played some of the chalk, but it just like your cumulative ownership in your lineups is way lower than mine. Which nothing's wrong with that. It's obviously you look really foolish on a week like this one where lineups with 200 plus percentage points of cumulative ownership are winning.
Yeah.
Because everything, I mean literally everything, I mean Lamb was like the only one to not smash.
And he's the one I played 21% of Lamb and he was 27, so I was like pretty close to the field. Obviously under, but
right, and the defense really didn't matter.
Yeah.
So and you played a lot of Robert Woods, which I was fine with. I played a bunch of Woods also. I mean, I had so much. Gallup 0, Dobbs 0. I had MVS until Juju had more points than him.
Yeah.
You played 12% Sammy Watkins. I guess if you're double stacking Rodgers, you're gonna have to throw in some. You're gonna have to throw in some people.
Yeah, that was. I put in a very low projection for him, and I was getting to like 20% at one point, and I had to keep cutting back, and that's just what it cut back to before I thought I need to move on to FanDuel.
Yeah, you played very little of Carr. Like it's almost like you did the opposite.
That was intentional. Yeah.
Right,
so I didn't want to play. We had Carr as just negative leverage in the stochastic tools, and I wasn't that high. I still played some Devonta Adams, but it just wasn't a spot that stuck out to me. I knew that I really wanted to play some Mahomes. I wanted to play that Tennessee Indy game was an ugly game that I wanted to get big parts of. I wanted to play Lamar. I ended up deciding I wanted to go up to Aaron Rodgers, so I just had to sacrifice some Derek Carr there.
No, I Derek Carr is positive only because I had Jacobs' ownership much higher.
Sure.
I almost feel like people. I mean, there was one player on the slate that I was surprised at the ownership. Everything else, like, do people need to hire me as like the independent ownership consultants?
Maybe.
Like people had the Jets defense projected at 22% ownership. I put it at 35. Like easily. People had Jacobs at like 28%. projected. I put him at 38. Right? I mean, like Kenneth Walker was like 20% owned. I put him at 28. Eckler came in around because he's 8,300, and that's what happened. And people had Burrow as like the 5th highest owned quarterback. I bumped him up to 15%. I'm like, it's going to be Burrow, Higgins, pipeline. I mean, like.
Yeah, it does seem intuitively the 17% on Joe Burrow does make sense. Like they were in a great matchup against the Falcons. Of course, people want to play Joe Burrow. In retrospect,
it's on a slate where we don't have Josh Allen, we don't have Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, right.
And people have no one to pair with Bateman back. Andrew's projection goes down a bit, so Lamar doesn't. Like people would love to play Lamar, but the stacking partners, and he didn't really have much like 3K value or anything. So like So Lamar was going to be lower owned. Mahomes was going to be lower owned. You couldn't to fit in. Kelsey gave you weird lineups. So it's like, where are people going to go to stack? And it's like, I think they're going to. I think they're going to Dak. I think they're going to Burrow, right?
Yeah.
And then obviously Geno or something like that. I get it, but a lot of people don't like playing him. So you just, I mean, I adjust ownership based on that. And once you start adjusting ownership like that, like Mixon comes down, Elliott comes down. I mean, the only guy, why is Alec Pierce 17% owned?
Yes.
What happened?
We had him, we had him project for 4.6. So I liked Alec Pierce at the 4.6% ownership. That was, as I said, a game environment that I was targeting. So I got to 9.6% of Alec Pierce, thinking I was going to be double the field there because he's been just pretty involved in the offense. Great game environment. I thought there could have been fireworks there. Of course, I didn't know, or I forgot how much Matt Ryan sucks. Probably shouldn't have played so much Alec Pierce and Michael Pittman, but it was a game environment that I was targeting.
Yeah, but how does he get to that ownership though?
I don't know. That's was not expecting that.
Right. That's the only thing that stood out to me. I mean, it's not like I had much of him. I still had some Alec Pierce, but like in that range, I was playing more like I played Renfro, I played DJ Moore, I played Romeo Dobbs, I played Robert Woods is a little bit more expensive than that. So that was the only thing that surprised me. Like Alec Pierce, I had it like 8% owned or 7 or 8 or something like that.
Yeah.
And he came in at 17. It didn't really change much of the other thing. I had Higgins over Chase. I had Chase a little bit lower on. I had Chase at like 12. I had Godwin about right. Gallup I was off on. Gallup I thought would be like 10%. Still higher than his. I think some sites had him at like 6 or 7% owned, and I bumped him up to 10 easily because then people are going to double stack Dak, right? They're going to play something like that, right? The tight ends were weird. The tight ends I just like kind of evened out. Like who's going to be more owned, Otten, Moreau, or Dulcich? So I put Otten at number 1. I had him. I mean, I cleared out my ownership, but I think I had him at like 12. I just put him slightly over Moreau is because more people because I bumped up Josh Jacobs' ownership, which means he's less likely to appear in lineups in GPPs with Moreau in them because people aren't going to play Carr, Jacobs, Moreau. They would probably stack Carr with Renfro or Adams and not Jacobs or, do something like that. So it's like Brady's going to be lower owned than Otten, and then no one's playing fucking Brett Rippon. So, like, Dulcich was going to be easily the third out of that.
You know,
I don't know. Like,
I made was
Neil, you don't think through any of that. You just blindly, just whatever the numbers are.
I mean, not entirely. I do think it through. I did not anticipate Burrow being so high just because there were so many other quarterbacks that I thought could get there. And I guess so in general, I think that, the ownership projections that I get from Stochastic are going to be better than what I would think intuitively. So that's like, oftentimes it does come out where things are maybe a little bit closer to what intuitive, like for me, Joe Burrow was a great play against the Falcons. We had him fairly low owned. So I guess.
Yeah, but at that ownership, at the highest owned, like that's the reason why I had less of him. If Burrow was actually going to be owned, if Chase was going to be 8% owned and Burrow was 8% and Higgins was the chalky guy at like 18.
Right.
And then Boyd barely owned, which was true anyway. And then Mixon higher. If Mixon was 16, 17%, I would have had more Burrow than Mixon. But I switched the ownership, and once I switched the ownership, like I'm getting Mixon for relative value, and I'm getting all these Burrow stacks as being negative relative value. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna play less Burrow. I'm gonna play more. I mean, I played like Hayden Hurst in those lineups, like Burrow, Chase, Hurst, not play Higgins. And then play like Drake London or something as a run back, which the Falcons, they could be down 3 touchdowns. They're still running the ball.
It's insane how little that's one of my bigger regrets too, is just requiring a run back in that game. There were games this week that I said, don't require a run back, but that was not one of them because I thought, the Cincinnati defense, I think that this Atlanta offense is good enough to get somebody there. There will be somebody from this Atlanta offense that will do something. And of course, that did not happen. So all my Cincy stacks were dead.
And then a lot of people were the Amon-Ra St. Brown. The thing that I did in my lineups with St. Brown is that I played less of him, but I only played him in correlated fashion because I I wouldn't think the Lions truck the Cowboys. So most likely, if I'm on Ross St. Brown has a good game, one of these Cowboys has a good game, and once you pair him with a 60 whatever $100 Lamb, like then you might as well have Dak Prescott in that lineup at that point,
Yeah.
right? So like I built a lot of groups like that, which I mean ended up working out for me on not losing more money. I mean, I guess, uh, yeah. I mean, anything that stood out on this slate? Other than
So one mistake that I made, or in retrospect, it was a mistake. I was really high on a lot of tight ends this week. I thought there were a lot of tight ends that were in great spots. So I had a lot of double tight end lineups, which I mean, I never
that's
set
not a
any kind of
mistake
rule.
though.
Yeah, no. In retrospect, though, it looks bad because none of the tight ends did that well. George Kittle did fairly well, but for the most part, the tight ends were kind of shitty, and there weren't that many. I guess Jacobs and Chase were some good pay up options, but like the high end tight ends didn't work out, and then the low end tight ends didn't really do all that much that would help you get to a bunch of great high end plays either. I mean, Chase was obviously went off, and then Jacobs was 6,500 went off, so you didn't necessarily need the savings of the cheap guys, and then the expensive guys didn't do that well. So I don't know, it did not work out. But no, yeah, I don't think it was a mistake. It just didn't work out this week.
I think maybe not playing too double cheap. But
Right.
I'm saying like I played lineups with Andrews in the flex, with Kittle in the flex, like
Yeah.
something even Pitts. I could even like someone with like someone with wide receiver
Yeah,
upside.
exactly.
But I mean, am I playing fucking K Dot and Foster Moreau lineups?
Right. Those ones I don't like as much. If they happen in my lineups, I don't like group them out. But so I don't think I get to a ton of those. But yeah, there were a lot of, and I would add Gerald Everett. I thought was in a good enough spot that he had kind of wide receiver type upside at a cheap price tag. I don't know. There was I had a number of double tight end lineups, and they just did not pan out.
Have you started to play NBA?
Here and there, I have not played every day. I didn't play Sunday. I don't think I played Saturday either, except for the late night slate where I played a single entry that ended up winning the slate pretty luckily. But other than that, I think I took Saturday off, didn't play Sunday. I will play. Probably won't play tonight because of Monday Night Football. I'll probably play just when there's not football in general.
Right. And NBA, I'm doing the same thing that I did in MLB. So
What's that?
I'm essentially playing triple ups and three
Okay.
mans.
Yeah.
And just flipping whatever, and then I'm playing 2 GPP lineups, small field stuff, and then just hammering all the props, right? So like just like prop city, and then that not have to deal with like until football season's over. Maybe when football season's over, then I could get into like building 50 lineups and large field stuff and whatever. I don't know if you noticed in NBA, it's been what? It's not even a week into the season, right? It's 5 days.
Something like that. What's today? Today's Monday. Yeah. I think the first game was Tuesday.
Right. It's
Last
not
week.
even a weekend. They're still their team's tanking already.
Yeah.
Like
Not a surprise either.
No, but I mean, how does that? I mean, I'm paying attention. I'm not watching the games, but I'm paying attention to play by play, who's in, who's out, and it seems like for like already some of these teams, it's like, oh, we're getting out to too big of a lead, bench all the starters.
I guess I haven't really
You're
noticed.
playing too well. You're playing too well. Sit down. Like, and you're sitting there going, how do you allocate minutes now?
That's a difficult thing for DFS, right? Yeah. You just don't play guys from that team because if they're doing too well, they're not going to play a full game. I guess is that the approach? You just don't play guys from
I don't
taking
know,
teams.
but the Pacers, what's the hell's going on with the Pacers?
I don't even know what you're referring to because I guess I have not been paying close.
Oh, you haven't been paying. The Pacers are like they start different people. They hockey line, just like all 5 of you gone.
Well, they've had some injuries already, haven't they? They had Jalen Smith got hurt in one game, and I feel like they've had a couple injuries that they've been dealing with.
Yeah, then he came back and then he got benched in the middle of the game. Then this guy starts and then Isaiah Jackson's in. Then you got the Spurs.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone was underpriced on the Spurs, and then it's like they don't want to win games, and they won. And they beat the Sixers. It's like, but you have to look at some of these teams and go, like the Spurs tried to lose the game and couldn't even do that.
Do you think they're trying to lose the game? Do you think Greg Popovich wants to lose games?
Yes.
Really? Okay.
But the thing is that they can't make it obvious.
True. Yeah.
So what this I made a hypothesis. I don't have the ability nor the data to run this test. I want to see the difference in if you call a team a tanking team,
Mm-hmm.
what the difference in rotations and minutes home versus away.
You think they'll play the Stars at home more so than away?
Right, because obviously they want people coming to the games, and if you're playing at home in front of your home crowd that you want to be happy, one, you're more likely to play the players that they paid to see, right? Now, some of these
Yeah.
teams don't have any players worth paying to see, but I mean, just in general, if you're going to a Spurs game, I want to see Keldon Johnson. I don't know who says that, but someone is. Uh, and then also, they'd be a little bit at least more inclined to either win or keep the game more competitive until the end, because the home crowd doesn't want to have to that they've been being blown out by 38 points heading into the fourth quarter
Yeah.
and leave on a bad note and say, I don't want to come back to a game or anything like that. But on the road, they're more likely to we don't give two shits. Let the home team win by 50. We don't give a fuck. Well,
So do you think we'll be able to see just by looking at like home and away splits for minutes, or do you think they're actually playing like bad lineups, like not even just like the minutes, but playing like three big men together types of things to
I
tank?
have no
You
idea,
know,
but I mean, intuitively, it makes sense that if you're going to purposely lose, I mean, I think it's also very similar to rest situations. I think that if they're going to sit Giannis, it's more likely they sit him on a road game than they do on a home game because
yeah.
people want to see Giannis play when they're in Milwaukee, right? I mean,
That was the whole the reason behind me not playing Jamal Murray and jamming Ish Smith on Friday when Ish Smith got 0 minutes. Jamal Murray didn't play. Ish Smith didn't start and did not play off the bench, so that did not work out for me.
but
That was the
I
last
just
full
want to know
NBA
whether or
slate I
not
played.
that's like a viable thing where if they're home, we could the minutes are a little bit more, I know, less fragile. They're less fragile than, because that's what really it's coming down to. It's just minutes
Yeah,
of,
yeah.
are they going to bench? Okay, 4 minutes in, okay, this guy's benched. Dude, he went on a 13-point run. Yeah,
I
too
mean, really,
good, too good.
at some
Right,
point, maybe we can't play players from the tanking teams because even the backups you can't play because if they do too well, they're gonna get pulled. Is that gonna be a concern at some point?
right. You have to play the guys off the back of the bench, right? The
But if
really
they do
bad
too well, if
guys.
they're doing well enough, they're just gonna get pulled. So you got to play guys that are just horrible at defense. So they can put up the fantasy points and still not help their team win.
Right. Okay, that could be the highest minutes plus minus negative players.
Yeah,
Right. So you
like
could do
Jamal
really well.
Crawford as an example. Like if he played a lot of minutes, his team wouldn't do that well, but he would put up some fantasy points.
Right.
We're
Well, I mean,
figuring it out.
what are your general thoughts NBA DFS heading into? Well, I mean, what are your plans? Are you just sticking? You play large field, whatever, just like anything
Yeah,
else?
I think I am gonna stick to mostly large field. I think I don't think I'm fully as mentally prepared this year as I have been in the past. I think I might not 150 max full time in NBA. Also because I'm not doing content related to it, and because I am having a down year this year, so I have less I just have all this money to play in NBA DFS. I just don't feel as flush as I did last year. So I think I'm gonna maybe cut back a little bit on my NBA. I haven't been playing the days where I have NFL just partially because I'm doing so much content related to NFL that it's all of my headspace is going towards these NFL sites, and I don't really want to half-ass an NBA slate because that can really bite you pretty quickly. So I think on the days when there's no NFL, I will play NBA. I don't know if I'll 150 max. I'll probably just still play those bigger contests. But I have season tickets split with some friends. I'm going to be going to a lot of games. That makes it a little bit harder to manage NBA. Yeah, I don't know exactly. So far, I have not been asked to do any NBA content. I think if I were doing content, I would, feel more inclined to play the slates after doing the research and stuff. But yeah, I think currently the plan is just I'll play NBA on the days when there's no NFL and I don't already have plans.
Okay. I mean that's very similar to me. I mean, typically I'm not playing NBA on the weekends, right? Because I have soccer, MMA on Saturdays, and then NFL on Sundays. But then during the week, I mean, that's the NBA time. And also, I don't like playing the small slates when they have a 2-game, 3-game. I typically
Yeah,
don't play those.
same.
Right. But I mean, I like the organization of time now that I've devoted more money into props, is because it's outside of like the rando, this guy's out of the blue. Let's rush to jam in props that are absolutely inefficient. Most of the work you do in the morning. I mean, not
Yeah.
work, whatever. I'm looking through, doing all the comparisons, going, let me write them down. Okay, let me spend the next half an hour round robining all these. Maybe they'll put some more up an hour or two from now with the later games. I'll look through those, round robin, whatever I could find there, and then I'm done. I mean, like then now it's DFS. Now an hour or two before the slate, then it's DFS mode. So I could wake up. I could do my pregame show on Roto Grinders from 11, 12, then 12 o'clock. Get all my props in. Take a nap or whatever. I don't know. Whatever the hell I do, I record a podcast like this, and then get around till 5:30 injury report update, and then not make 150 lineups, not even make a lot of lineups. I'm aggregating projections. I'm getting multiple projection sets from around the industry, and then I'm running them through the correlation matrix as part of the Theory DFS Advanced course, and then just seeing what combinations are the most used, and then not playing those combinations and playing basically the highest projected lineup of not the highest combinations. That is the lowest correlation coefficient, and that's my triple up, 5 quintuple up lineup. And then I'm choosing 2 more that are similar to that have a similar correlation coefficient, but probably a little bit slightly less owned for as high of a projection I could get. And then those are my 2. Those are, playing the $100 Showtime or the $200 Splash or something, under 1,000 entry, small field. And then I'm done. And then, like, if a late swap needs to be made, I mean, I could do that on my phone.
Right.
I mean, I don't have to rush anywhere to do anything. I don't have to swap out a million things. Like, that's it. And then I have all the, and so, like on, like, tonight's slate, for instance, like, I'll have, like, I think maybe $1,000, $1,200 in DFS, and then like 5 or 6 grand in props.
Wow.
And then do something, and then like that. Like, what? Why am I playing double ups? Like, why am I doing that? Why am I playing head to heads? My ROI and I could pull up Roto Tracker. I think my lifetime ROI in basketball across both sites, across FanDuel and DraftKings, is like 2.5%.
Yeah, with the rake and everybody, like the best approach generally being play who everybody else is playing. It's really hard to find much edge there, I would think.
Right, my ROI on Prize Picks right now is a little over 11%.
Yeah, that's worth playing.
So like, why? Like, sometimes the simplest question is just like, why am I doing this? I mean, like sometimes it's like, yeah, I like playing DFS, but like, if it's easier to make more money in less time doing this, then why the hell not?
Yeah, it seems like a good approach to me.
Right. Other than GPPs, like GPPs, there's a lot more game theory, but for cash games, like, what am I supposed to do? I'll let me aggregate, press the button, and go, okay, that's it. I think you could still get away with doing that on FanDuel.
Yeah.
DraftKings, I mean, even that season that I played, like, the optimal straight all the way through, like, DraftKings, I broke even. Like, FanDuel is where I made all the money. Right? So, like, I could see doing that on FanDuel, but
I think that's true in both GPPs and cash games. FanDuel is just so much softer.
Yeah, I think so. I think so also. The thing is that even if you do that, you know what you spend most of your time doing throughout the day?
No.
Registering for contests.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right? Because even on FanDuel, like, if you're playing low stakes, like, I'd be like $1.50 50s, $2.50, and you have to wait for them to respawn new ones. And then go through the head-to-head lobby. Like, it would be like every half an hour, every hour for 5 minutes, and then constantly updating. Like, that's what you're doing throughout the day.
Yeah.
And this, for like, dude, for like props, it's like on tonight's slate, I got like 15 props or something. Now, some of them are correlated to each other. Right? I mitigate risk by, like, if something is off, a lot of times it's off on everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like if a player is off, like for instance, their points are off, and their points, rebounds, assists are off, and their fantasy score is off. So like I mitigate my risk by whatever I would normally do on one thing, I just split it amongst all three or all four or whatever it is. So it's like it's quite possible. Oh, he didn't score enough points, but he made it up in assists and rebounds. And I won that prop and not this one. Even though like the discrepancies between both are like about even. Instead of just choosing one, I'm just like, I'll just like if I normally play $25, if I normally play $50 on this, and there's two of them, I'll go 25 each.
Using sports betting terminology, you're splitting up your unit across. You're playing, a quarter of a unit in 4 different bets.
Right. That would be a better way. That would be a better way, even though units are not. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that a new thing?
I didn't even know what that meant until like 2 months ago when I finally asked somebody in a Discord that you and I are both in. They were like, "It doesn't really mean anything. It's just like a standard standard amount of money that person chooses to play on bets, right? It's like it varies person to person. It's not even
that's not how you bet. Like
I'm not a sports bettor.
I don't know because I bet on sports for like a 2-year period.
Mm-hmm.
Made money, baseball primarily, right? Baseball almost all the entire time. It was always a percentage. Like it was always like you're betting X percent of your bankroll based on Kelly or some version of Kelly, a quarter Kelly, whatever the hell it is. There's no units. There's no standard unit side. There's no how much are your units? I don't know. I don't nothing. Like what units? I don't come up with a unit number. Right?
Yeah.
Now on Prize Sticks and whatever, to make it easy, they have a setting, whatever. Most of the time, I'm putting $25 on round robin. Of course, I'm playing a ton, so like it's and it adds up over it. So I on a specific prop, I may have $300 on it in total, but it's split up, on 12 different things. But I never thought in units. I just like, okay, what percent? What is the bankroll that I'm setting aside for this? Then going, okay, based on this edge, how much percentage should, like, maybe an average bet, the average bet, if anything, would be, and then adjusting, like, the bigger edge I have, now obviously I could run it through a Kelly calculator, but I could eyeball that as well. So, like, that's why, like, some of my prize picks are $25, some are $30, some are $40, some are $70. Right? Some like it. If I see something that's really off if I see one thing that's really off with another thing that's really off, like expect me to, like, oh, I'll put 25 on that. No, I'm putting 100 on that. Like I'm putting way more on that. Yet the ones that are closer, and it's like, okay,
well, that's a 4-unit bet then. Come on.
A 4.
That's just a 4-unit bet.
I'm supposed to say 4 units there because
that's what I've gathered from Twitter. I don't know.
Seems like it's tout speak. It doesn't mean anything.
It does seem like tout speak. Yeah, I don't think it. Yeah, it doesn't mean anything as far as I can tell.
It means basically
this is your level of confidence in the bet is more units.
But it's not confidence. It's how much edge you have in a bet. Like it's not even. I'm not confident of anything.
Right, confidence relative to the return, and it's. I don't know.
If you believe that you have a 68% edge here, you should be betting X amount percentage of your bankroll. But like how many units make up your bankroll?
I don't know.
Like what happens if you only have a 5-unit bankroll? 1 unit is a lot.
Right.
Right? If you have a 7 million unit bankroll, 1 unit is nothing. And I see
maybe it's 100 units as a bankroll. I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't sports bet. I don't really care.
I don't know that.
Yeah, I don't know either.
And then I see people that are like, I'm betting this 50 units.
Right.
What the fuck then might as well not have units then. And then what does that mean?
Right.
50 times your average bet size? Is that what? No, that's not what they're saying. They just don't use 1 unit, like the fucking units.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put down 1 unit, right?
Sure, put down 1 unit.
1 unit. I'm betting a no balls guy.
Yeah. Speaking of Unix, no Game of Thrones for 2 years now. I don't know if you care. I just learned that last night. I learned that last night was the last episode of season 1, and then also that that season 2 isn't coming until 2024, and I'm upset about that.
But that's the way that it was with Game of Thrones also.
No, Game of Thrones is every year.
No, the difference between I think 4 and 5 was 2 years, or 5 and 6 was.
There might have been one season where there was a 2-year gap.
Okay, so there you go. Here you're getting another one.
All right, yeah. I don't like it though. They had all this time, all this production went into it, and now I don't get to watch it for
See,
2 years,
this is
and no Succession for another 6 months. So even more upset there. Or
this is
not even.
the
They didn't even give us
reason.
a time. They just said spring.
This is the reason why you just wait, right? I'll watch House of
That
Dragon
would
at
have been a
some
good
point.
idea, but people are talking about it all the time. I don't know.
So
But
don't
yeah,
talk to those people.
well, okay. I guess I could just not go on Twitter. But yeah, I there is definitely merit to waiting. There
You
are a
have to,
lot of
you have,
shows that I've waited on, and I'm very glad that I did.
and also you have shows that there's too much content on for you to watch right now.
True.
You got to watch The Rehearsal on HBO Max.
I've started the rehearsal. Yeah, I really enjoy Nathan Felder in general. So of course I'm going to enjoy. Of course, it's one of those shows where I struggle a little bit with these shows that are like supposedly reality TV, but like it's not really totally reality TV. Like these guys are like the people that are kind of being made fun of are sort of in on the joke. I think some of the time. I don't know. It's I struggle a little bit with that concept, so I need to just turn off that part of my brain and just enjoy it for what it is. Because in general, he's a very funny guy.
Right. Well, he's not a funny guy. He's conceptually funny.
I mean, I think that he's a very funny, like deadpan actor too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, Nathan, for you, there's not been a show that I've cried laughing as much.
Yeah. I don't even think I've watched. I should. I don't think I've finished Nathan for You. So maybe that's something I need to do. Yeah, it's
Like my
one of those
wife,
shows I turn on.
my
I
wife
enjoy it.
knows that I don't laugh at anything because I was a comic.
Yeah.
I don't get surprised by jokes, but like that. I mean, I just off the couch on the floor in a fetal position, crying hysterically, and it's the type of thing that if you're with a normal person, they don't understand why you find the
Right.
thing
This is
so
just awkward. Why
hilarious.
do you enjoy this? Yeah.
Right? It's like no, it's the reason that the fact that he's doing it
Yeah.
is like it. It's like you almost need to know comedy to know that like how funny it is. People don't appreciate it.
Yeah. No, it's a very funny show.
Just like Monty Python, another people don't appreciate it enough.
Yeah. I've only seen Monty Python once. I enjoyed it. I don't remember that much about it.
You got to see the classics.
Yeah.
Anything else DFS wise? It'll be a short show.
Did you want to touch on MMA at all? I mean, we have not been talking MMA.
There was a 17 trillion way dupe or something, and Showdown last night
right?
was a 7 million way dupe. Like, dude,
God,
at what point are the dupes going to stop?
The dupe bros just win. They've just winning every. No, we actually Cody Main put out a tweet of the first 20 showdown significant showdown slates. We had 7 unique winners of 20. So like that's actually a pretty high rate of people winning by themselves in the first 20.
Right,
so,
and then the other 13 were 8 million way ties.
Yeah, exactly. But those are. To be honest, I mean, I think we've talked about this a little bit. If I don't win, I prefer the dupe win. Like I just that way I'm like, I couldn't have won this slate,
Right. That's
why
I
didn't make a
rooting
mistake.
for right. If I don't have a winner, I want it to be in a 183 way tie because it's like,
yeah,
well, I never would have gotten to that lineup. So okay, that's perfectly fine. Yesterday, it was a 1170 way split with 2 different lineups because the Dolphins defense and the kicker both had 12 points or something. If you max entered, you lost half your money.
I know. It's like doesn't make sense.
Yet people will still post screenshots, Neil. They'll post them. Look at us, we won with the entries winning that the entries entered. Like that'll obviously not be there, and then you'll say, look, we're rolling, The dupe bros are rolling.
It can be hard to calculate EV, but I think it's pretty easy to see that if you enter a lineup and that lineup wins, everything goes perfectly, your lineup wins first place, and you still lose money, I think it's pretty easy to see that that's a negative EV lineup.
Yeah, no, people are dumb, Neil.
People are dumb.
They see that green number. People fall for the green number is the profit number, and even though it's less than the number on top, and people go, oh, congratulations.
Yeah.
Right? So people are dumb. If you're going to learn anything, Neil, from me, if my essence could go out to the world of like, I just want this to resonate even past when I'm dead and gone, is for people to just take like the George Carlin quote of like, you know how dumb the average person is? Well, half of them are dumber than that. Okay.
Right. Yeah. I've lived long enough. I know in theory how dumb people are, and I still struggle with it like day to day. Like, wait, how could you think that? Like logically, how could you have that make that conclusion based on what you just heard? I'm constantly surprised by people, but hey,
Yeah, but
I
the
guess
more
that's
you talk to people, the more that you shouldn't be surprised.
I know I shouldn't be surprised. Somehow I still am. Sometimes, not always. A lot of the time, they're just like, okay, yeah, this guy's. A lot of people you can tell pretty quickly are kind of dumb, but a lot of people hide it pretty well too.
Right. They hide their dumbness pretty well.
Yeah,
Hopefully, they're hiding their dumbness in my DFS contest.
exactly. That's the wish.
Ah, yeah. But the MMA, it was such a good card, and then two fights got canceled, and then only one underdog won. Two underdogs won. Two
Sugar Sean,
underdogs
right?
won, and the worst goddamn play on the slate won, and he shouldn't have won.
Yeah,
The
that was.
worst guy, and
I
he's
was rooting
still
for it at that point. So I was rooting for that because at that point, every fucking favorite had won. So like,
right.
I needed a lineup that had some underdog to win, and he happened to be in both of my like two live lineups at that point. And then of course I learned he failed. He scored one fewer point than the guy who was $500 more expensive.
Right.
So even if things had gone my way on the final fight, I would have been in 52nd place because there was a big dupe there. So yeah, that was
Right.
unfortunate.
Sean O'Malley, I had is literally the worst play on the slate.
Yeah.
Based on ownership versus whatever, and because of name value, that fight. Oh, Sean O'Malley 6,900. It's like, yeah, because he's typically a minus 300 favorite against schmucks. He's facing Peter Yan, and Yan should have won.
That's everything I read on Twitter was, wow, he didn't win this fight, but Sean O'Malley really showed he belongs. It's like literally everybody was like, he clearly lost this fight, but he showed he belongs. So I made a joke about that, and then like 30 seconds later, learned that he was declared the winner. So that
Peter Yan was minus 800
after the fight.
After the fight, right before
Yeah.
scorecards, minus 800.
Yeah.
And then looking at the they do Cage Match, whatever the source, they do the media scores, like the 30 media members or whatever.
Sure.
30 Yan winner. Well, 29, 28, 30, 27, like so it's whatever. Split decision, whatever the hell it is, and then it's like Sean O'Malley was surprised that he won.
Yeah. I didn't actually watch the fight. That was on the card that you had to pay for it. I think it was in the pay-per-view.
Yeah,
I didn't buy the pay-per-view.
Take a business expense.
That's a good point. I should do that.
I take all the MMA pay-per-views I buy, and I take them right off the expenses.
Interesting.
It's MMA. It's research.
Yeah. No, for
my
sure.
accountant says it's fine. So like, I'm not like just making it up. He says, yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean,
my
that makes
NBA
sense.
League Pass, even though I don't even know if I'm watching NBA. I may watch a couple of games, maybe. Like that, take off MLB at bat, anything related. Dude, I'm able to take off my cable bill.
Yeah.
My entire cable bill, internet, everything, whatever. Yeah, business expense.
Yeah, I need to start taking advantage of these business expenses.
Yeah, well, you got.
I don't have any of that stuff.
The fact that you would, I mean, either that or move to the biggest plus if you move to make is to move to Canada, become a Canadian citizen.
Everything's free.
Right, everything's free. Right, you don't have to pay taxes and everything's free.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else before we get out of here?
No, I think that'll do it.
Yeah, pretty. I mean, people are used to like, oh, it's going to be a 2 to 3 hour show. It's like, no, we're doing this every week. That the whole point is that if we did this once every 2 weeks, it probably would be a 2 hour show. But now that
we have less to talk about. Just one week. We just talked a week ago. Yeah.
Right, during football season. Then once football season's over, we'll go back to every other week and everything. So, so Neil,
you mentioned at one point you're going to have some other guests midweek at some point. Do you have any lined up coming up?
I was going to, but I don't know. When they pop up, they pop up.
All right.
Right. It also depends on my schedule. We'll rotate in. We played by ear. There's no agenda for this show. We just talk. We talk as DFS players. That's the whole purpose of this. There's no like agenda. Just it's two. If we had a normal conversation that wasn't recorded, it may sound just like this.
Right.
Right. And I would continually tell you, Neil, people are stupid.
Yeah.
People
I get
are
it.
stupid. But if you want to get smarter, you go to Stochastic and watch and listen to Neil's shows over there, or in Roto-Grinders and watch or listen to the shows on Roto-Grinders. Either get both. Get your subscriptions to both sites.
Write them off.
Right? The theory of daily fantasy sports. Write that off too. Right? Just write everything off. I'm gonna do this Coke right here. Write off. I can't do that though.
Caffeine? You don't need caffeine for your shows? How would you do a show without caffeine?
The only my accountant says the only way that I could deduct food expenses is if I'm having like a client meeting or something like, or are you having and for audit purposes having minutes for it.
Okay.
Have some like I mean, you don't need that, but like he's not going to sign off. Like he's the type of accountant that if he's putting his name on it,
right,
it's going to be audit proof, right? So right. It's like you can do this. I won't prepare your taxes, but you can do that, right? So that's why, like, for someone like that, I trust more because if he says that I can take this off, then most likely I can take it off, or right. I can only take off 20% of this. I can only do that's perfectly fine, dude. He told me my insurance, like homeowners, whatever insurance is a. I was like, dude, but I can only take off a certain percent of my office space. It's like, yeah, but you could also do that for everything that's part of. Oh, really? Okay, so that's why his attitude with things is that save everything, right? Save every receipt. Even though it's all bank statements, or just save jot down anything possible that you spend on anything.
Yeah.
Then let him determine that, come March or whatever. And just
seems like good advice. Yeah.
Right. Just to save everything, and we'll determine what it is. But if you don't if you don't save it, if you don't have any type of proof that you paid for it or anything like that, then
right,
you can't do it. So your gas bill, your electric bill, you got trash disposal, someone came in and mowed your lawn. Fine, we're not going to take that off, but it's better to have that and me tell you that's not going to be an expense that you could write off. But right. you didn't know. I didn't know about some of these expenses. Even when I was doing my own taxes, I wasn't taking off because I'm like, I'm gonna get audited if I take that fucking thing. I mean, right. like the home office thing, I almost never did because of so many people telling me that's like the number one flag of getting audited. So like it wasn't worth. Like I was deducting so much other stuff anyway that.
Right.
Because I had my digital marketing business, so I was deducting stuff off for that. So it's like let me just not do the home office. But once I got a LLC and now it's an S corp, then everything's fine because now it's a separate entity. But I mean, when I was just doing a Schedule C, when I was just doing it on my own, where everything was coming to my own Social Security number, like I was always like if I got audited, I'd be screwed. Right, because I'm deducting stuff that I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to take off like 20% of this. I'm taking off 100% of it, but as long as I don't put down the home office deduction, like maybe, and I never got audited, so
nice,
that's fine. And this is not tax advice.
Yeah,
right? So don't listen. Don't listen to. Go see a CPA. People ask me that, right? They DM me. It's like, oh, I want a bunch of money. What's the tax implications and everything? It's like why are you talking to me?
Yeah, I've had that question before too. I direct people to Peter, my tax accountant, NFT and DFS CPA. I don't know, maybe he's dropped the NFT part now.
You don't even know his last name. That's how well.
Peter Kwan.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
It's like, yeah, I trust all my finances. This guy Peter with a cartoon duck as his avatar. Right.
Yeah. And also Rich Muter Spa, I think. I forget what his name is.
Rich Uterus?
Muter Spa.
Spa?
He has a tougher name. He's the other. They work together, and they do my taxes.
Okay, I'm glad to know that you're familiar with the people that you don't even know how to pronounce their last name.
Muter Spa is correct. I just looked it up. Yes.
Right.
Peter Kwan, Rich Muter Spa.
And me, I get my taxes done by like a 71-year-old guy.
Yeah.
Right. With a cane that has an office and actually has like file cabinets and prints out stuff.
Of course, yeah.
Right. I can't email, and I can't email him anything.
Oh no.
No, I mean I could. He'd use his email, but if I have records or everything like that, I can't. He won't accept email for attachments or anything.
Interesting. Okay.
You know why?
Liability purposes.
That's absolutely correct. Because if his email gets hacked, it's not covered by his insurance. Right, so it's like if you have files that if you're for your business records or anything, we've signed an agreement. They're safe with me, but they're in a filing cabinet.
Funny.
And if this place burns down, I will get reimbursed for that. Like, I'm not liable for anything if someone breaks into here. Like, the insurance company will pay for any damages that you will happen to sue me over if you needed to. But email, he's basically, I don't trust email. Like, email, like, because I tell him, it's like, I get everything via, I get my 1099s and all, I just forward them over to you. It's like, don't forward, it said print them out. I said, really? Print them out? I said, how would I, then what, this past year, I said, how, you have a printer there, can I just email you? Because I was going to a meeting that day, and he emailed me and he said, make sure to bring so and so. So I'm like, can I just email and you print them out there? And it's like, no, I don't want you to email me anything. Like, yeah, he could do that. Yeah, he has no problem doing that. He just doesn't want it in his. I said, you realize you could just delete the email afterward. You could delete it. That it's no longer in your like. And he basically is nothing's ever. It's the internet. Nothing ever gets deleted.
Right. I think that's true.
Right.
Digital
to
footprint.
Some extent.
Yeah, to some. Yeah.
But I almost trust that guy more.
Right.
Right. He's old. He's old school accountant. Right. And he's been an accountant for like 40 years. Not a single business client has ever gotten audited.
Wow, that's a good sign.
Ever. Well, because he's so fucking into fucking. Do you have a receipt for that?
Can't you just can he send you like an encrypted? That's what our accountants do. They send us like an encrypted place where we can upload things.
Dude, you haven't met this guy, right?
Okay.
Encrypted. What does that mean? Right.
I mean, I barely know what it means too. So I follow, but seems safe enough.
He just think. I mean, he uses a computer to make the tag. He does. His computer looks like it's from like I think 20 years ago, right? Yeah. I think it still has a projection, it has a tube on the monitor, or whatever. Nice. No, he's a fairly recent computer, but I mean, but it's a it has the internet, but he doesn't want you to send anything. And he prints everything out. He'll print out. He'll send me books. He does nice work, and then also for the payroll, like this is why you need these old school people more than like the online people. Because every quarter I have to do payroll, because I pay myself a salary, so the business basically runs payroll. Then I have to send checks, to Metro, to Federal, and he makes it extremely easy for me. That he basically mails me a package, and the package has has color coding on it. So like he puts like a yellow little strip of tape, like a little color coding tape on all the pages where a signature is needed. And then the front page is like the paper clips are on everything that needs to be mailed with an envelope that is already addressed and instructions.
Very organized.
Right, and instructions underneath that says, write out a check for this amount to this thing, mail to whatever with this envelope. And it's like, all I have to do is open it up, and I got like 4 or 5 little things with paper clips. I just separate them, put the little piles there, and go, okay, first one. Okay, I need to sign here. I need to sign there. I need to write this check and put it into that envelope. Fold all this in, put a stamp, and I'm done. And then to go to that, so I don't have to look through it. Like, okay, who do I send this to, and how much? Like, no. Anything he basically has done everything for you, other than the stuff that he can't legally sign your name, and he can't write a check or anything like that. But like, here's the package, here's the invoice. And I also love the fact that he still charges as if it's 1994. Right.
Sounds great. Yeah, sounds perfect.
Basically, me and my former business partner in their digital marketing business, this is the same accountant that we used since 2010. And he wanted to go to someone that was more up to date technologically for his own taxes, and also his father has a business. He's involved in other businesses also. So he's like, I want to put this all under. I don't want him doing it anymore, essentially, because he's not quick enough, and he's not, whatever. Right. And then it's like, okay, maybe we'll just move and have our payroll and taxes done by whoever you find for your other people or whatever. And the quote we got was like 8 times higher.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm staying with Bob, right? I'm staying for that. And we even told the other accounting group, like we're paying this price, and basically their response said if you're satisfied with the job that they do, you ain't gonna find anywhere close to paying that amount.
Why go
right?
It's
like truthfully, unless something is egregiously wrong with what he's doing, said I'd probably stick with them. Like if that's your sales pitch of like, because our attitude was that like, damn, that's expensive. We're paying X and you're charging 8 times more. It's like, no, that's
of course they probably said that assuming that the reason you were going to them was that you were unsatisfied with him. So they were thinking this is a good pitch to get you to switch.
Right. Well, that's just that's whatever. That's their rate and that's what they do. And like, I don't know. Is it worth? We don't have a big enough bid. Like his other businesses are worth doing that for, but not for what we were doing. I'm like, I ain't willing to give up another like $1,500 out of my pocket per year.
Right.
Just to do essentially the same thing. So it's like, like that's not worth it for me. Once you bundle in all the other stuff that my partner was doing, then maybe I could see that. So that's why I still go to this guy, right? And he's right, and he's like a mile and a half down the road. I could just drive there, right? And he always wants, and I always have to come, right? I always have to like that's right. Before when I can't do a phone call as far as like here are my expenses, here's all my everything. It's like no, you're coming. We're not doing this over the phone. Because then when I come every year, I need to sign an engagement letter, right? Which says that what he's responsible for and whatever. And basically we're sworn to secrecy and whatever like that and everything like that. And once that, and then there you go. I mean, like he's that type. Maybe he's like a mob accountant. I don't know. I don't know if he is. He charges way too little to be a mob accountant.
Right. No, it seems great. Stick with him. Stick with Bob.
Until he dies, which probably will be
until he dies.
Right, yeah. Which should be soon.
Of course.
Right, but then probably fairly soon. And I'll have to find another accountant. And he doesn't ask anything about DFS. He literally gives no shits.
That's great.
He doesn't even understand what I do. He doesn't care. Said as long as you're getting W-2s and 1099s.
Right, that makes it easy.
Doesn't matter. But said all you have to do is tell me. Is the thing that you spent money on, is it essential for you to conduct your business? And if you say yes, I'm fine with it. Right? Yeah. Right? As long as you could say that is essential for you. Right? If it's not essential, then we have to have a different story. But if you say it's essential, right? If it's essential for you to watch an MMA pay-per-view for 6 hours and because it's research. Who's to judge whether or not that is essential? You think it's essential. But if you're going to tell me that the Chinese food that you ordered during the pay-per-view is essential, yeah, that's bullshit.
Right.
Right. He can tell that's bullshit. Yeah, you can't sell me on that shit. That ain't essential.
Yeah.
So we only got 2 months. We only got 9 weeks to either do one or the other. Either make enough money to actually get a 1099.
Yep.
Or lose enough money to not have as big of a tax bill.
Right. Well, I'm already down for the year, so I don't have that concern. So I just have to make enough money to get a 1099 at this point.
No, but the worst situation to be in is be way up on one side and way down on another.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the worst situation to be on.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to be able to deduct one from the other.
Yeah, I might be up on FanDuel for the year now, but not significantly anyway. I don't think.
I think I'm up decently on FanDuel, and I think I'm around maybe a small loss on DraftKings currently.
Yeah,
I'm somewhere hovering around break even, somewhere around there. So it may actually be the first year in 7 years that I don't get a 1099 from DraftKings.
I don't know how many years it's been for me. It's been at least 3, maybe 4. I don't know. I don't remember beyond 3 years ago. I did have one losing season at some point in the past, like 7 years, but I'm looking like a losing season this year unless I can turn it around. October is typically my best month of the year. Haven't had my real breakout yet. Just a week left.
The only thing different for me now is that definitely you get a 1099 from PrizePicks.
Yeah.
So that'll make that I guess that'll make up for it. I mean, do they send out to? Maybe they don't. Maybe they don't give a shit.
Right? Yeah, I don't know. Some sites
technically
don't.
I still have to pay the tax. Technically, yes, but
yeah,
if they just say we ain't gonna report anything, then I ain't gonna report anything.
Right.
Right. As my accountant would say, it's like all you have to do is come to me with 1099. Anything that's been reported to the government, just come to me with. If you don't want to disclose anything else, don't tell me. Basically, his attitude is, don't. If you tell me, that's a different story. It's like if you tell me,
then he has to.
Then he has. Then I have to. Right. So if I say that, I made $25,000, $30,000 on Prize Picks, and they never sent me a 1099, do I need to pay taxes on it? It's like, well, I'm going to either write that money in as taxes, or I'm not going to do your taxes because you just told me. So if you don't tell me anything, I could sign this, and I'm still under, his
to the best of your knowledge, right? That's
right, to the best of your knowledge, right?
Yeah.
But he can't give advice, because if he says that, yes, I'm telling you that I made $30,000 on Prize Picks, and they didn't send a 1099, and then you sign a tax form that doesn't have that income recorded. Now, obviously, is anyone going to know that I told him or not? No, of course not.
No.
I mean, whatever. But he seems like the type of person, he doesn't even want to get involved. That's why I said, no business of his has been audited.
Right.
His entire, now I see why. So it's like, maybe I don't tell him about Prize Picks until I actually get a 1099.
Yeah, that seems like a reasonable approach.
I don't know. Am I confessing to something? Is this going to be used against me?
I have no idea. It sounds like you don't know whether you have won, how much you've won. So no, this is, maybe you're down for the year.
I don't know.
Knows?
Maybe I haven't won anything. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe. Who knows?
Maybe I'm down.
You could be.
Maybe I'm just lying.
Maybe the government owes you money for your Prize Picks. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe they do. Maybe they should.
Yeah.
I'm performing a community service.
Sure.
Right.
Exactly.
I'm making sure that they have better lines, even though they don't.
Right. Yeah.
Even though they don't.
You're doing your part.
I'm doing my part. I'm trying. And I'm also doing my part by teaching you the game theory of DFS, the theory of daily fantasy sports. Pick up the fundamentals masterclass or the advanced course with the Excel tools at theoryofdfs.com.